Oh, turn it on? Okay, thanks. The reason the candle is here is because the candle accompanies the soul. And it's from one of the verses in Psalms where the light of the candle symbolizes the presence of the Lord. What I did was, before we closed the casket, was I put a little piece of earthenware on top of the eyes and a little piece over the mouth, and then I cover the face. And the reason we do that is we traditionally believe that the last image a person sees before they die is the image of God, who comes to take the person's presence. So we cover the face to let the person remember that image that they see. And then, unless there's really, really, really a dire need, once this is screwed on, it stays that way. So usually symbolizing the person is at rest, and we let them rest. So the way that what the service is going to consist of, I'll start with selected passages of the Bible. I'll say them in Hebrew, and then I'm going to translate them in English. And then you all have the pamphlet, right? So that we're going to say the 23rd Psalm together at the appointed time. Then what I will do is we'll have the eulogy, and I'll have some closing thoughts, and then we have the closing prayer. Because it's family, if there's something that you see or something that you're not sure or something that's different that you want to ask, feel free to stop me and ask me. There's no secrets here, but we're all together in this. So you might as well, if you see something that you're not certain, you might as well ask and leave here that you know what the reason is. And the reason I just looked over is sister is facing the door. This is her feet. And the reason we keep it that way is because she's on her way to our final resting place. So we place the casket with the feet facing the door. You said we're waiting for somebody? Or we're good?
I texted them, but they didn't answer. So if they don't get there in a few minutes, maybe we should just, I don't know, it's up to you if you want to wait for them or not.
If somebody's on the way.
There will be 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
So then let's talk a little bit about the customs that what we're going to see when we go to the cemetery. What's going to happen at the cemetery is we're going to take sister out of the hearse. There's a special blessing that I say on coming to the cemetery. There's a psalm, Psalm 91, that I'm going to recite. But while I recite it, we make 7 stops, signifying the 7 days of the week. And the final stop is going to be the final resting place. Then what we are going to do is I say a prayer, we lower body to final resting place, and then we give everybody a chance to put a little earth on. And where that custom comes from is this is the only time in life that one person can do a favor for another person and they can't say thank you. Right? Because in life, what happens? You do somebody a favor and the last thing they tell you is, don't forget you owe me one. And this is the only time in life where we actually are going to put her at our final resting place. Symbolically, we put a little earth on, showing that we are putting her to the final resting place. Then we're going to let the cemetery fill the rest of the earth up on top, and then let's say a final resting prayer. And what we do is, when they put the earth on, I'm going to take a shovel and just kind of get it to the middle of the grave, symbolizing house, just a little roof of a house, so that's the final resting place. When we leave the cemetery, one of the customs are you bend down, you pick up a blade of grass, pull it and throw it over your right shoulder, symbolizing the cycle of life. We're here, and life goes on. I encourage, and I'll say this again at the cemetery, think of a charity of your choice, and I always encourage, think of a charity that helps other people, that perpetuates. Somebody needs some help, or somebody that can go through some difficult times and make a little donation and honor life. You'll be seeing me sprinkle a little holy earth from the Holy Land as we lower Bonnie to final resting place, and that symbolizes that we all take a little bit of the Holy Land with us in our final journey. What else? I think that's it. Anything in particular that you'd like to? And let's just step back just a real quick. When Bonnie was prepared to go on a final journey, there's a process of what we call a tahara, which is we physically wash human remains, and we dress our in simple clothing. I think that's a fair statement to use, simple clothing. And the reason why we do that is because in the days of old, the wealthy would dress in real fancy dresses, real fancy suits, and those who didn't have the means would be dressed in shambles. So the reason we dress, everybody's dressed the same, and everybody goes home the same. And the reason behind that is because you hear people say many times, well, I don't practice religion. So I don't go to temple, I don't go to church, or it's not for me, or whatever the reason they use. In our tradition we say, regardless of how you lived your life, when we go home, we all go home the same. And the same service that I give Johnny the mailman, I give the most esteemed person that's out there. Might be a rabbi, might be a priest, might be just whoever they are on the ladder, we all go home the same way. And it just kind of, it's good to remind us, don't look how you lived your life yesterday. How they say, you can't turn the clock back and make a new beginning, but we can all start today and make a better ending. And that's basically the message of the day. So as we sit here, we say goodbye, we say, maybe there's something we need to change or not change, or maybe there's something we've been wanting to do and the clock is ticking, but now's the time because we all go home the same. So are we gonna wait, or?
They can't make it because my little grandson didn't sleep last night, so they're not going to be home.
God bless your little grandson. Okay. So we start our service today for our beloved Bonnie with selected passages, and you'll hear this throughout the service. I'm going to be repeating our Hebrew name, which is Shira Bas Avraham, and that's the name that we use from this moment on in. When she's going to go meet her Creator, that's the name they're going to refer to her. So which is why we mentioned the name during the service. Adonai nasan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevarach. The Lord has given and the Lord has taken away. Praise be the name of the Lord. From Isaiah we pray, Kol omakra v'amamo ekra, Kol habasar chatzir v'chol chazdo kitzitz asadeh. Yavesh chatzir navel tzitz keruach Adonai nashvavoi. Achen chatzir ha'am yavesh chatzir navel tzitz advar lehenu yakim li'olam. A voice says, cry out, and I say, what shall I cry? All flesh is grass, and all its beauty is like the flower of the field. The grass withers, the flower fades, when the wind of the Lord blows upon it. Somebody come? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Need me to start over?
No.
The grass withers, the flower fades, and when the wind of the Lord blows upon it. Surely the people are grass, the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God shall endure forever. And from Psalm 73, Kol she'eroi ulevavi, tzur levavi v'chelka lehim li'olam. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart. He is my portion forever. And from Isaiah we pray, fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will sustain you through my power. If you take out I will recite Psalm 23 in Hebrew, and then we'll recite it together from the pamphlet. Mizmor leDavid Adonai roi lo yechzor benos deshe yarbitzeni amei menuchos yenahaleni nafshi yeshovev yancheni b'magle tzedek laman shemoi gam ki elech b'geitz hamoves li'irara ki ato imodi shivtecha mishantecha heimi yenachmuni taroich lefon hashulchan neged soireroi v'shanta b'shem roishi koisi ravoyoi ach tov v'chesed yedufuni koye mechayoi v'shafti b'veis Adonai li'orech yamim. Together, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restored my soul. He lead me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anoint my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And from Ecclesiastes we pray, for everything there is a season, a time for every experience under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot what is planted, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to grieve and a time to dance, a time to throw stones, a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek and a time to lose, and a time to keep and a time to discard, a time to tear and a time to sow, and a time to keep silent and a time to speak. And even though we speak now, we're silent. Because when we have to say the goodbye to a loved one, what is there to say? And to me was given the difficult task this morning to bid our beloved Bonnie a final farewell. And I say the reason a difficult task is, how do you sum up 80 beautiful years in just a few moments? Our sages tell us, birth is involuntary and death is inevitable. And the test of life is, how will one fare between those 2 points? Our sages also tell us, who is worthy of our love is someone who loves us in return. Who's worthy of our respect is somebody who respects us in return. And who's worthy of our honor is someone who honors others in return. And after reading through what the family wrote, that's exactly what Bonnie was. She loved everybody, she respected everybody. And in Yiddish, we have a term that we use, and I tried to do a Google on how it's translated. The word is called a mensch. A mensch is like the perfect the perfect gentleman, the perfect lady. When you want to tell somebody that, you know, just a plain nice person. In Yiddish, we say they were a mensch. And after reading through which I'll be sharing with you, what the family shared with me, that was Bonnie. Just a plain mensch. Lived life, loved life, and treated everybody with respect. So please let me share with you what the family wrote, and then we'll have the pleasure of hearing from Angie, please. So in no specific order, so please bear with me. This, I believe, was written by Sister Jackie. From a young age, Bonnie loved music. As a child, she began taking piano lessons and continued into adulthood. She had a beautiful touch on the piano and continued playing even after she became ill. As a young person, she had various jobs as a secretary, administrative assistant, and similar positions. She occasionally played piano professionally, but mostly played for her own enjoyment, always making others smile. At times, she would perform at nursing homes and for charitable occasions. Eventually, she decided to try a hand at teaching piano to children. She enjoyed it immensely, and the children loved her. Bonnie was a people person. She had many friends, loved parties and celebrations, and she knew how to make people feel welcome and valued. Recently, when I was talking to one of her friends, I thanked her for spending time with Bonnie as it lifted our spirits, and her friend replied, "No, Ronnie lifted my spirits even more." Bonnie was very athletic. She began jogging in her early 30s and then started running and ran many marathons. She was very health conscious and carefully kept a strict diet. She was an avid swimmer. Bonnie was very intelligent, had a great memory for trivia. She also had an incredible vocabulary. Even after she became ill, she was using words correctly that I had to look up in the dictionary. She never coped well with formal education. She had a very independent nature, but she did obtain an associate degree in music, which she was very proud. Bonnie loved to travel. She went to France at least twice and visited other countries in Europe. She was fascinated by other cultures. She also made a trip to Israel when she converted to Judaism. About 30 years ago, Bonnie became interested in Judaism. She studied about it and was drawn to Orthodox Judaism. She sought instructions in the faith and eventually fully converted to Orthodox Judaism. She found it intensely meaningful and was always devoted to her faith. When Bonnie was diagnosed with Alzheimer's 5 years ago, she was understandably sad and fearful. But eventually, she came to grips with it. She made up her mind that she wouldn't give up. She wouldn't give in to her fear or the sadness, determined to live every day as fully as possible. She wanted other people with Alzheimer's to know that they didn't have to give up. She would say, "I just do the best I can, and don't worry about the rest." She was very open with her friends about her diagnosis. She would tell them, if I say something that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. It's just my dementia. She was a lesson of optimism and courage. She will always be in my heart. From Sarah. Thank you for making the live stream so I can participate from Maine. It means a lot to me. Bonnie is the oldest of all of us and announced that to the staff of the nursing home when I visited. She also told them that she was a clothes horse, and that was true. She was the glamorous older sister. She wore a beautiful hot pink dress for her wedding. She was also a music enthusiast. She liked classical music only. She and my mother used to commiserate on how awful the music programs were in assisted living. On my last visit to her at hospice, I asked her what was her favorite piece of music so I could play it from my phone. I got no answer, no response. She appeared to be asleep. I then asked if she liked klezmer music, and she made a face. So she hardly able to respond at all, but she made sure to let me know her feelings about klezmer music. Just some background. She was diagnosed with dementia about 5 years ago. The next year, she moved to the same assisted living as my mother. A year ago, she moved to a nursing home, and about 2 weeks ago, moved to hospice. So my anecdotes about how I remember her: she helped me when I needed it most. In 2022, my mother died, and I was cleaning out her room at the assisted living. I was distraught, and I called Bonnie. She was so kind on the phone, and she said she would come out to help me. Of course, due to her dementia, she could not find the way exactly, but once we were together, she comforted me. She just stayed with me while I worked and came to the post office with me and made me feel better. I will always love her, I will miss her, and she'll always be in my heart. From Maddie. I am Bonnie's younger sister, Maddie. Thank you for asking for our stories. Everybody will tell you that they have a Bonnie story. Bonnie was very talented musically. She was a music teacher, a fashionista, and very active in our temple community, an avid runner, and adored by all who knew her. I have a short, simple story that I do not think anyone else will tell. When talking to me about running once, Ronnie spoke of the fleeting moments when both feet are off the ground, and it feels like anything is possible. As a runner, I felt deeply moved by her articulation of this experience. With much love, Maddie. From Jeff. I'm sorry I cannot be there in person. I send my love and my prayers. She will always be in my heart. And then there's one more here. Here we go. From Colleen. Is Colleen here? No? So you'll bear with her. It's a little bit lengthy, but she's not here, so we're going to give her the full respect. Growing up with Bonnie, early memories. As the youngest sibling in the Dietrich Wheeler family, I did not get to spend much time with Bonnie as a young kid. Before she moved to Wisconsin back to New York City to be with her dad and his family, when Bonnie would return for visits, she wore very pretty clothes and she had an accent. She spoke very proper English. She would shoo me off the grass saying we needed to enjoy grass, not walk on it. Piano. Some of my siblings played piano, and the one that was most amazing was Bonnie. My sister performed in concerts and eventually had slightly crooked fingers as she aged from playing piano. She truly was an amazing pianist, and I treasured being present to hear her play multiple times through her life. We grew up poor, as in few clothes at all. When I was in 4th grade, Bonnie sent me a beautiful outfit, a purple jumper with a blouse. No one at my elementary school had an outfit like this. I beamed when girls asked me, and I wore it proudly, and I said, this is for my sister who lives in New York City. Bonnie poured effort into just about everything she did. When she was in her 40s, Bonnie married Stan and converted to Judaism and put in effort to learn everything that she could about the religion, the culture, and history. One year, I was lucky enough to go to New York City for Passover, and found Bonnie hard at work in the kitchen creating some dishes for Passover for Seder at a friend's home. The Passover Seder was an amazing experience shared with my sister, one that I will cherish forever. Bonnie's last year, my niece got married in Chicago in 2024, and I will never regret being part of a small group of siblings who came together to show Bonnie could attend the wedding. We pulled it off beautifully. We all got to see her, spend time with her, and I believe she enjoyed being there. My sister Bobby was her companion and protector, getting her safely to and from New York City. I am thankful for my sisters and brothers who helped me make that trip. Over the past few months, other siblings on Bonnie's dad's side, and Jackie made countless of trips to see her, to reassure her, to oversee her care. While I do feel sad Bonnie was not able to live close to one of the retired siblings with more time to visit, as with everything in our family, we do the best we can with what we've got. Bonnie was loved by all of her siblings, and I am sure that she felt the love even more at the last moments of her life. I will miss the unique ways, wisdom, and greatness of my elder sister. As my better half, Jim, will be in joint replacement surgery during the funeral services for Bonnie, I send my love, my prayers, and my gratitude to all who will be able to attend in person, and appreciate all attending remotely. In appreciation with respect, Colleen. Beautiful. And now I'm going to ask Angie to say a few words, please.
Hopefully you can hear me all. I just wanted to put together some snippets and remembrances of Aunt Bonnie from my perspective when I saw her. So it's not all-encompassing, it's just some things that I remember. And there's a lot of things. So back when Grandpa Dietrich, maybe the last 10 years of his life, maybe, we went to New York fairly often, once a year or once every 2 years, to see him. And so then I also saw Aunt Bonnie as well. And we had a little ritual, which was to take a walk around the reservoir in the middle of Central Park. So I knew just where to meet her, and I would meet up with her. She walked from her place, I walked from Grandpa's place, and we walked around the reservoir and we talked. The reason we walked was because I'm not a runner, so if it was just her, she probably would have run. And she did walk with purpose. I remember feeling like I couldn't quite keep up with her, even walking. But those were nice memories to have. And then I remember another time where she took me out to breakfast in New York. I must have stayed overnight by her house or something. And she took me out for breakfast. It was a nice summer day, and we sat outside in the outdoor seating. And not being from New York, sorry, it just meant a lot to me. And it was a big remembrance that Aunt Bonnie took me to this wonderful restaurant for a nice breakfast. I also got to go along with her a few times one time to her synagogue, and I don't remember exactly, but I think most of it was in Hebrew, and so I couldn't understand what was going on, but she would whisper and tell me what was going on. And then she took me, we happened to be there one time in the fall, which our visit coincided with the Feast of the Sukkot. Sukkot means a hut or booth, and it's a Jewish festival of giving thanks for the fall harvest. And I think it also commemorates the years of wandering in the desert by the Jewish people. And so there's a very specific setup for a Sukkot. You make like a little hut, and the roof, it's outside, and the roof has to be made of organic material like branches, leaves, bamboo, or even woven mats. And the roof is supposed to provide more shade than sun, but it's supposed to let a little sunlight come through. But anyway, I remember just going to that Sukkot festival with her, feast with her, and meeting some of her friends, and just learning about the festival and enjoying it. So that is a memory that I'll always have with her. Then there were some just random things. She was very glamorous, and she always looked younger than she was. And I remember one time asking her what the secret was for her youthful face. And she told me that it was oil of Olay. So when I got home, I went I made sure to go out and get some oil of Olay. She was also very good at the art of packing, which I think anyone can appreciate if you're going on a trip. And I remember one time she was going to Paris for a week, and we must have seen her at the airport or something, but all she had was a backpack and a bag, maybe like the size of a gym bag, and that was what she was bringing to Paris for a whole week. And I'm sure that whatever she brought in her sparse luggage, I'm sure she looked fabulous every single day. She had a few big birthday parties towards the end of her life. She had a big one for her 70th birthday. I just remember her standing there in her long gown and with all of her family and friends around her. Then for her 80th birthday party, she was already in the assisted living place for dementia, but we had such a nice party with her. We had gone out to eat, and then we came back, and someone suggested that she play the piano. She was a little bit confused at first, but once she started playing, everything was fine, and then she asked anyone else who knew how to play a song. And so I hadn't played for years and years, but she had big stacks of music, and I just went through them until I found something that I could probably play, and so I did. And it was just such a nice party filled with music and telling family stories. It was very, very nice. As mentioned before, she was really into running, ran many marathons. She even ran the Chicago Marathon one time, and that was the same weekend as a family wedding. And so we all went to the wedding on Saturday night, including Aunt Bonnie, and then she got up bright and early Sunday morning and ran in the marathon. So she was very determined. And then when she could no longer run after many years and she had some knee problems, instead of just giving up, she switched to something else. She switched to swimming, which was much easier on the joints. And I really admire that about her, that she didn't just stop. She found another way to keep moving and to keep learning. She also wrote some things, I think. I think she sent something into the New York Times. I remember maybe the editorial section. Don't remember quite sure what it was, but I remember being really impressed when I read it. So she had a lot of talents. But finally and lastly, her biggest passion in life, I would say, was music. She played all of her life, played the piano, and at times she was a music teacher. I know she taught in a school and also had private students. So if I were to look back, in a nutshell, a picture of Aunt Bonnie, I'd picture a really glamorous woman sitting at a grand piano, playing the piano, playing her music. And that's all the stories that I have.
Thank you so much. Before we close, one final thought. We sit at a funeral, we're about to say goodbye to a loved one, and we ask ourselves, what are we supposed to think? So very interesting. They took a survey in the Tribune not too long ago, and they found out that in the human race, 1 out of every one of us is going to die. So the question is, how are we going to live? So as we sit here and we bid a final farewell, let's remember the two most important lessons that we learned today at a funeral. Lesson number one is there are those moments in life, there's nothing to say. There's those moments in life, if you look in the news, the last 24 hours, my phone has been ringing off the hook. Rabbi, what do you say about what happened in Texas? I don't know. I can cry with you. I can pray with you. Would that make any sense? I don't know. So many people lost their lives just like that. Families completely wiped out. But just because I don't have what to say doesn't mean that I can't pick up the phone and just be there for somebody. So if you ever find those moments in life where you find yourself something so horrific happens, or a friend or a loved one is going through difficulty, call them up. Just tell them I'm thinking about you. And lesson number 2 is nobody's guaranteed tomorrow. And because no one is guaranteed tomorrow, make the best of what you can today. So before we close, think of one person in your life who can use a smile. Think of one person in your life who can use a hug. Think of one person in your life, you've had a friend, a relative of somebody who you've been meaning to reach out to, but you never got around to it, or things got busy, or the clock just ran away from you. And the message is, do it today, because we don't know what tomorrow will bring. Bonnie, go home in peace, go rest in peace, but the way you lived your life will be forever etched in our hearts. Fear not death. We are all destined to die. We share it with all who ever lived, with all who ever will be. Bewail the dead, hide not your grief, do not restrain your mourning, but remember that continuing sorrow is worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let the memories be at rest, and be consoled when the soul departs. Remember, seek not to understand what is too difficult for you. Search not for what is hidden from you. Be not overoccupied for what is beyond you, for you have been shown more than you can understand. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore, a man's few days in eternity. The good things in life last for limited days, but a good name endures forever. Our God, our Father, you redeem our souls from the grave. You are the rock of our salvation. Forsake us not in time of trouble and days of distress and desolation. Help us to endure, our Lord, for we have placed our hope in you. Please rise for the final prayer. Emolei rachamim shochein bamromim hamtzei menucha nechon al kafei ashchina b'malos kedoshim etorm kazay arakia masir nes nishma shira bas Avram shochol yolamo Began Eden tei menuchasa lachein bala rachamim hasterel b'seiskan afechol yolamim mitzvah b'tzvah chayim es nishmasa Adonai nachlasa v'sanuach b'shalom amishkava v'nomar amen. O God, exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and pure to the soul of our beloved Bani Shira Bas Avram, who has gone to her eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that she performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. The Lord is her portion. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. I'm sorry.
This concludes the service here at the chapel. The interment will take place at West Lawn Cemetery in Norwich. For those who will be driving to the cemetery, we'll be lining up in our parking lot. We ask that you have your headlights and hazard lights on while in procession. We'll be placing a magnetic flag on your vehicle and drive as close as safety permits to the vehicle in front of you. If we can all rise as we escort the casket out of the chapel. And ladies and gentlemen, for those who are going to the cemetery, I'm assuming there's restrooms right out in the lobby.